3. The Joint Intelligence Process. The Joint Intelligence Process provides the basis for common intelligence terminology and procedures. It consists of 6 interrelated categories of intelligence operations characterized by broad activities conducted by intelligence staffs and organizations for the purpose of providing commanders and national-level decision-makers with relevant and timely intelligence. The 6 categories of intelligence operations are planning and direction, collection, processing and exploitation, analysis and production, dissemination and integration, and evaluation and feedback. In many situations, various intelligence operations occur almost simultaneously or may be bypassed. For example, a request for imagery requires planning and direction activities but may not involve new collection, processing, or exploitation. In this case, the imagery request could go directly to a production facility where previously collected and exploited imagery is reviewed to determine if it will satisfy the request. Likewise, during processing and exploitation, relevant information may be disseminated directly to the user without first undergoing detailed all-source analysis and intelligence production. Significant, unanalyzed operational information and critical intelligence should be simultaneously available to both the commander, for time-sensitive decision-making, and to all source intelligence analysts, for the production and dissemination of intelligence assessments and estimates. Additionally, the activities within each type of intelligence operation are conducted continuously and in conjunction with activities in each intelligence operation category. For example, intelligence planning, IP, occurs continuously while intelligence collection and production plans are updated as a result of previous requirements being satisfied and new requirements being identified. New requirements are typically identified through analysis and production and prioritized dynamically during the conduct of operations or through joint operation planning. The Joint Forces mission is determined during joint operation planning and provides the focal point around which the intelligence process is organized. A conceptual model of the intelligence process is depicted in Figure 1-3. The joint intelligence process is encompassed within the 2.0 series of tasks in Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Manual CJCSM 3500.04 Universal Joint Task Manual, which provides a common language and reference system to communicate mission requirements. A. Planning and direction. IP and direction is best understood as the development of intelligence plans and the continuous management of their execution. Planning and direction activities include, but are not limited to, the identification and prioritization of intelligence requirements, the development of concepts of intelligence operations and architectures required to support the commander's mission, tasking subordinate intelligence elements for the collection of information or the production of finished intelligence, submitting requests for additional capabilities to higher headquarters, and submitting requests for collection, exploitation, or all-source production support to external, supporting intelligence entities. IP and direction occurs continuously as the intelligence component of the command's campaign and contingency adaptive planning effort. IP for campaign plans allows for the prioritization of intelligence support across all ongoing operations and simultaneous planning efforts. On the other hand, IP for contingency plans informs the development of joint capabilities and enhances the readiness to respond to potential crises. The most likely threat scenarios are used as the core of the deliberate planning effort for potential contingency operations. Through this effort, intelligence planners determine the personnel, equipment, and intelligence architecture essential for support to joint operations. When a particular crisis unfolds, commanders and their staffs develop an operation order, OPORD. Intelligence input to the OPORD includes an adjusted and updated threat scenario and an intelligence annex that tailors intelligence support to the nature and scope of operations to be conducted. Assessments conducted by intelligence personnel provide operation planners feedback for future planning for subsequent operations. Intelligence support to joint operation planning is discussed in greater detail in Chapter 4, Intelligence support to planning, executing, and assessing joint operations. 1. Intelligence requirement and information requirement planning. During mission analysis, the Joint Force staff identifies significant information gaps about the adversary and other relevant aspects of the OE. After gap analysis, the staff formulates intelligence requirements, which are general or specific subjects upon which there is a need for the collection of information or the production of intelligence. All staff sections may recommend intelligence requirements for designation as Priority Intelligence Requirements, PIRs. However, the J2 has overall staff responsibility for consolidating intelligence requirement nominations from the staff and for making the overall recommendation to the commander regarding their approval and their relative order of priority. Intelligence requirements designated as PIRs receive increased levels of intelligence support and priority in the allocation of intelligence resources, while those not designated as PIR are satisfied as time and resources allow. Ultimately, the commander designates PIRs, which, together with Friendly Force Information Requirements, FFIRs, constitute the commander's Critical Information Requirements, CCIRs. Based on identified intelligence requirements, to include PIRs, the staff develops a series of more specific questions known as information requirements. Those items of information that must be collected and processed to develop the intelligence required by the commander. A subset of information requirements that are related to and would answer a PIR are known as Essential Elements of Information, EEIs. The most critical information requirements regarding the adversary and the OE needed by the commander to assist in reaching a decision. The development of information requirements, to include EEIs, leads to the generation of requests for information, RFIs. If the required information is already available, a production requirement may be initiated, and if the required information is not available, a collection requirement is initiated. Figure 1-4 illustrates this process. A. The JFC uses PIRs as a tool to designate intelligence that is critical to decision-making and to focus the intelligence system and the allocation of available intelligence capabilities. PIR nominations consider the mission, commander's intent, operational objectives, and the time frame of expected operations. The JFC develops PIRs that support critical decisions over the course of an operation, and for complex phased operations, develops separate PIRs for each phase. As an operation ensues, the commander updates PIRs to address new requirements or concerns, and as the situation changes, either eliminates some or develops others. A JFC's total number of PIRs for any phase of an operation should reflect a reasonable balance between mission-critical requirements and finite intelligence support capability. Because of this, PIRs should be ranked and disseminated in priority of importance. Other valid intelligence requirements are submitted but receive lower levels of intelligence support. B. Using PIRs as the basis, the intelligence staff develops the command's EEIs. To satisfy information requirements, to include EEIs, intelligence staff should identify the specific indicators that could fill a gap in the command's knowledge and understanding of adversary activities and other relevant aspects of the OE. C. In addition to Joint Forces intelligence requirements, the intelligence staff must be aware of the intelligence requirements of higher, adjacent, subordinate, and supported elements, the operational requirements of supported elements, as well as national-level intelligence requirements. D. Subordinate units expand on the Joint Forces intelligence requirements by making them specific enough to support their portion of the overall operation or campaign, and also develop intelligence requirements based on their own operational requirements. The JFC's PIRs should encompass and prioritize the most urgent intelligence requirements of subordinate and supporting elements. Subordinate force intelligence requirements are addressed and prioritized during planning. Conflicts for resources must be resolved and unnecessary redundancies eliminated. E. PIRs assist the J2 in determining and prioritizing the type and level of intelligence resources required to support the joint force. Intelligence staff use intelligence requirements as a basis for formulating statements of intelligence, interest to the intelligence community, IC, justifying tasking of national collection resources through Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, and justifying requests for intelligence capabilities. F. Intelligence personnel review existing intelligence databases for potential solutions to intelligence and information requirements. If the intelligence does not already exist, the requester issues an RFI, a specific time-sensitive ad hoc requirement for information or intelligence products, distinct from standing requirements or scheduled intelligence production. An RFI can be initiated at any level of command and is validated in accordance with the Combatant Commands, CCMD's, procedures. An RFI leads to a production requirement if the request can be answered with information on hand, or a collection requirement if the request requires collection of new information. Anticipated production requirements are typically articulated in the form of analytic tasks and subtasks during planning and entered into the appropriate RFI management system during execution. On the other hand, if an RFI leads to the initiation of a collection requirement, requesters of intelligence collection support should provide specific information requirements, SIRs, to allow the formulation of collection requirements and the allocation collection capabilities to satisfy them. If the requester does not provide SIRs, the collection manager should consult with the requester to determine the indicators of activity against which to focus collection capabilities so that appropriate SIRs can be developed. G. To the extent possible, identify PIRs, EEIs, associated analytic tasks, and SIRs in advance for each operational phase to provide the basis for synchronizing the reception and integration of required intelligence capabilities. Collection capability shortfalls identified during planning may form the basis for requests for forces, RFFs, and requests for support from national intelligence resources. This information ensures that the employment of defense intelligence capabilities is prioritized on supporting commanders in achieving their operational objectives. 2. Analysis and production planning. All source intelligence production is facilitated through a collaborative or federated effort in which information is rapidly shared among geographically dispersed organizations. This approach involves dividing the analysis and production effort among U.S. and partner nation, PN, intelligence facilities and organizations worldwide to meet the intelligence needs of the joint force. Analysis and production responsibilities assigned during joint operation planning establish the anticipated flow of information and the development of the appropriate intelligence dissemination architecture. A. Defense Intelligence Analysis Program, DIAP. The DIAP establishes policy, procedures, and responsibilities for intelligence analysis and production within defense intelligence. The DIAP recognizes the overwhelming complexity of providing intelligence for worldwide operations and therefore divides the analytic effort according to prioritized categories of defense topics, transnational issues, and countries. B. In many situations, the level of production, uniqueness of the product, or availability of personnel may require extensive lead time. For this reason, theater level and below intelligence planners should anticipate analytic tasks and identify the need to federate production with outside commands and agencies as early as possible. This includes production requirements that should be coordinated from tactical through national levels and access to intelligence and non-intelligence databases such as an automated biometric information system. Additionally, they should also work with the component intelligence elements to minimize confusion and duplication of effort by coordinating their respective roles and responsibilities with regard to analysis, production, and associated resources. 3. Collection and exploitation planning. Collection planning matches anticipated collection requirements with appropriate theater and national collection capabilities. It is a continuous process that coordinates and integrates the effort of all collection units and agencies. This multi-echelon collaboration helps identify collection gaps and redundant coverage in a timely manner to optimize the employment of all available collection capabilities. A. The IP component of the Adaptive Planning and Execution (APEX) system establishes collection planning procedures to be applied during joint operation planning. Conceptually, collection planning performed during joint operation planning precedes collection management performed during execution. B. Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance (ISR). Collection operations are carried out during either surveillance or reconnaissance missions. While reconnaissance missions are specifically conducted to obtain information about the threat or the OE, surveillance missions consist of the systematic observation of places, persons, or things. To ensure these two types of missions are fully integrated into the overall joint operation, J2 and Operations Directorate of a Joint Staff, J3, staffs must continuously collaborate to synchronize the employment of assigned and allocable platforms and sensors against specified collection targets. They must also ensure raw data is routed to the appropriate processing and exploitation system so that it may be converted into usable information and disseminated to the user in a timely fashion. The J2 is responsible for identifying potential collection targets and prioritizing anticipated collection requirements that are then used to drive surveillance and reconnaissance mission planning. The J3 manages the operational area on behalf of the commander and deconflicts the physical employment of the various platforms with other operations to be conducted within the land, air, and maritime domains. Additionally, as the command's overall force manager, the J3 recommends to the commander the appointment of platforms to subordinate echelons so as to inform their planning efforts, and in collaboration with the J2 makes recommendations regarding their allocation during execution. Priorities for the appointment and allocation of collection and exploitation capabilities to subordinate JFCs is typically based on the mission they've been assigned and the operational priorities set by the combatant commander, CCDR. Adaptive collection planning by the J2 and continuous collaboration between the J2 and J3 staffs during reconnaissance and surveillance mission planning provides for the effective management and optimal employment of all available platforms, sensors, and associated processing, exploitation, and dissemination (PED) systems. C. Federated exploitation planning is typically conducted during joint operation planning based on anticipated single-source analytic throughput. It provides the appropriate intelligence systems architecture to route raw data to predetermined exploitation nodes or the end user.